In this video, we are going to be looking at two-step equations, and this is the fourth video in our series of our book of solving equations. Okay, so for solving two-step equations, you guys have actually already done this with your hands-on equation set. And what you'll remember is that you first will need to add and subtract by the constant. And I'm using red because those constants, I mean those red number cubes. Or if you were using the negative numbers, they were green, which of course is counterintuitive. And then the second step is going to be multiply or divide by the coefficient, which is of course that multiplier of the variable. Okay, so basically, if you recall, when you had your thing set up, you always did your legal moves on your red number cubes first, and then you were left with some coefficients on one side, or sometimes you had them on both sides, in which case you did your legal moves, but you wanted all of your pawns to be on one side, and then you multiplied or divided by how many pawns there were. Okay, so basically, first step, take care of the red number cubes. Second step, take care of the pawns. Okay, so let's apply that to our algebraic expressions or equations. So this would mean 3 pawns minus 8 is equal to 10. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to think, I want to isolate the variable. That's my objective. Get the pawn by itself or get the variable by itself. So I'm going to add or subtract by my constant. Okay, so I now have a subtract 8, so I'm going to add 8. And what I do to one side, I have to do to the other. So I'm going to add 8 to that side. And I'm going to bring down my 3x. Now this term has now been eliminated because negative 8 plus 8 is 0. And I bring down my equal sign. 10 plus 8 is 18. Okay, so I'm now at my next step. Because remember, this is a two-step equation, so that was step 1. Now my second step, multiply or divide by the coefficient. So I now have 3 pawns on one side and 18 on the other. So my coefficient is multiplied by 3, so 3 x's or 3 times x. So it's times. So in order to eliminate it, I need to do the opposite, which means divide by 3 and divide by 3. So that means x. So if I have 3 pawns and I'm dividing it by 3, I'm going to left with 1 pawn, or 1x, is equal to 18 divided by 3 is going to be 6. So you would have then a red number cube 6. Okay, let's go over to this one. Okay, so in this situation, you have 3, so a number cube minus 6x equals 9. Okay, so we still want to isolate our variable or get that x all by itself. So the first thing, let's get rid of this 3. Right now it's a plus 3 or a positive 3. In order to eliminate it, we need to do our legal move where we subtract 3. But we need to maintain balance. So what we do on that side, we have to do on the other. So minus 3. Okay, so this term has been eliminated. I need to bring down minus 6x. Now, don't forget to bring down that subtraction sign. I see this error all the time. Students will leave it hanging up there, and then they bring down just a positive 6x, which is then you're going to get the wrong sign. And that is equal to 9 minus 3 is going to be 6. Okay, so now we have our multiplier is 6, but it's a negative 6. So think of these as 6 little negative pawns. So, but we don't want to know the value of a negative pawn. We want to know the value of a positive pawn. So when we divide by that 6, we need to make sure that we are dividing by a negative 6. And when I do to one side, I have to do to the other, divide by negative 6. So negative 6x divided by negative 6 is going to be just plain old x is equal to 6 divided by negative 6. Well, anything divided by itself is going to be 1, but I know that a positive divided by negative is a negative, so x equals negative 1. All right, let's do another one. We have a divided by 4, or 1/4 of a, or 1/4 times a, however you want to think of it. So it's a over 4 minus 10 is equal to negative 12. Okay, so first thing we need to do, add or subtract by the constant. So here's our constant, it's our regular number. So right now it is subtract 10. We need to do the opposite. So we are going to add 10. And what I do to one side, I do to the other. Add 10. Okay, and I will go ahead and put this horizontal line here. Okay, so I'm going to bring down my a over 4. This term has been eliminated. So I bring down my equal sign, and I can just leave a gap there, it's fine. Negative 12 plus 10, that's going to give me negative 2. Okay, now my next step, multiply or divide by the coefficient. Right now, a is being divided by 4. So if I want to undo divide by 4, I do the opposite. I need to multiply by 4. So I'm going to put parentheses 4 to show that multiplication. And what I do to one side, I have to do to the other because I need to maintain balance, right? So if I only multiply this by 4, what's going to happen to my scale? It's going to go like that, and I'm no longer in balance. Okay, so that then becomes eliminating that coefficient. So I now have a isolated, a is all by itself, and that's going to be equal to, or stay in balance with, negative 2 times 4. Negative 2 times 4 is going to be negative 8, because I know 2 times 4 is 8, and a negative times a positive is a negative, so negative 8. All right, next one, and this looks like a really weird font, so I'll put that there. It's supposed to be a Z. So here we have negative 4z divided by 3 is equal to 10. Okay, so for this one, you'll see that the two steps, there's actually no constant on the side of the variable, and so both of the steps are dealing with the coefficient situation. So if you have this, negative 4z divided by 3, you can also think of it as negative 4/3 times z, or z times negative 4 divided by 3. However you think of it, just think of it, you're like unpeeling all of this hot mess step by step by step. So the first thing you want to do is get rid of that denominator. So z is being divided by 3. So to undo that, we want to, let's do that first step, multiply by 3. And what I do to one side, I do to the other. Multiply by 3. And I bring down what's left. Negative 4z is equal to 30. Okay, and now I have negative 4z is equal to 30. So I'm going to divide by my coefficient, which is negative 4. Divide by negative 4. And what I do to one side, I do to the other. So divide by negative 4. So negative 4z divided by negative 4, I now am going to have just plain old z. Z is equal to, and then I have 30 divided by negative 4. Ew, why did I give you one that's not a whole number? That was mean. That is going to be 4 times 7 is going to be 28, and then another 2, which then would be half, so it's going to be 7.5, negative 7.5. Okay, so z is equal to negative 7.5. And actually, the ones that I give you, I won't be mean like that and give you a fractional or a decimal answer just yet. You will eventually at some point in your mathematical career, but not yet. Okay, so that is how you solve two-step equations.